where we curiously connect teachers and seekers in a safe space, exploring a vast array of topics that spark the flame of curiosity within you. We've created a community for thoughtful discussions where teachers share their wisdom and seekers explore the depths of their curiosity. It's a space where diverse perspectives come together, fostering connection and understanding. Our intention is simple: to ignite your curiosity and create a life that totally lights you up. Every conversation is a journey, a chance to explore, learn, and embrace the magic that life has to offer. Connect with the Being Curious Show on all major podcast platforms at the Edge Network, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Being Curious Show.
Hello, everybody. How are you? It's the Being Curious Show.
Yep. How are you, Cal? I'm good. Over on this end of town, we got sunshine, and it's Tuesday, and it means it's podcast day.
Tuesday's podcast day.
Yep.
Nice to see you. Who do we have on today?
We have a very dear friend of mine, Sara, who is beyond amazing. Her gifts are not only amazing, but she is amazing as a human being. And I am honored to have my space next to her at Echo Bodine Center. And so we get to work quite closely together. We're actually partners on a new project coming up as well. And we might talk a little bit about that later. But Sara is absolutely somebody everyone should meet. I had the pleasure, like I say, to move in next to her. And boom, she showed up with roses. And who doesn't like roses? And so with that said, let's bring in Sara.
Beautiful. And I just want to let everyone know, I brought some roses to the party today in honor of Miss Sara.
And I have roses as well. And I believe Sara does too. So we are good to go, girls. We are good to go.
Welcome, Sara.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sara, how did you ever get into the spiritual world that we're currently in? Can you give us a little bit of your story for people who are kind of out there going, who is Sara? How did this happen? Tell us.
Yeah. So we'll just give a little props to Echo Bodine because she is kind of my pathway in. Years ago, I had hit some turmoil in my life, had a reading from a psychic who's like, "You are a psychic. Why are you coming here?" I later found Echo. I took classes with Echo. I took hands-on healing with Echo and Carol Lowell and a number of other teachers in the spiritual space. And then I kind of just did a little bit here and there on the side. And in January of last year, I suffered from a traumatic brain injury with repeated head blows over like a 3-day period, which for me, I now look at in retrospect as spirit saying, slow down, slow down. Nope, she's not done. If we don't hit her one more time, she's going to keep going on the hamster wheel of life and not take this detour into the holistic world where we really want her to be using her gifts. Yep. So it's been an adventure of learning to love myself and learning to let go, learning to have grace for where I'm at, and really leaning into the flow of life in a different way. Than what I knew before.
Awesome.
So it's interesting in Sara's bio. I mean, get this, you guys. She is a life spiritual coach, energy intuitive and shamanic healer, intuitive medium, space clearing, Reiki master teacher, 1, 2, 3, and 4, holy fire, Karuna, I think I said that right.
Yes.
Reiki master, and a sacred rose healer. I mean, if that doesn't have a full bag of tricks to come and see you, and you're a mom, and you've experienced some life craziness with a head trauma, you are amazing.
I appreciate that. It doesn't always feel that way, right? Like we all have that
and you're having a human experience.
Yes, exactly. I really want to honor that because we are all very much in this human world, doing the best that we can every day.
Awesome.
So this is the Being Curious Show, and you are a very curious person. Let's talk about vibration. What does that mean to you?
Oh my goodness, vibration is such a good topic. So everything is made of energy. If we just start off at that very basic level, and everything has its own frequency at which it vibrates at. And if you can think of a time where, oh my gosh, maybe you've been doing too much, going, and all of a sudden you just take that deep breath and you realize that you're totally depleted and your vibration is very low. opens you up to susceptibility of colds, flu, those kinds of things. And then you think of a time where you're just like dancing in the ring, singing to your favorite song. I mean, it could be so many things of that nature, right? And you realize like, this is magical. This is beautiful, being in a very high vibration state. And we can get into that high vibration state by doing things that bring us joy. Finding gratitude, compassion, love. Those are all very high vibration feelings. So vibration is both in static things in our environment, right? Like chairs, flowers. I mean, everything is made of energy and we all vibrate at a different frequency.
Tell us
So
about
roses.
the vibration of the roses.
Yeah, for example, roses vibrate at 320 megahertz, which
Wow.
is one of the highest vibrating plants. And it's one of the oldest plants that has been documented. And it's been sacred in many different spiritual and religious practices dating back in time. And human bodies, for example, when they are healthy, vibrate at like 68 to 72 megahertz. So roses are 4.5 times that of the human body. So when I use them in my sacred rose healing practice, or Kelly having them in her space, or you, Cheryl, just the physical presence of the roses helps to raise the vibration of our space. And in rose healing, for example, it helps to raise the vibration of the body.
Awesome. Awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the rose healing, because we've kind of danced around it, and it's something that is sacred, and I've been used for many, many years. But you've kind of put a new Sara spin on it. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so I trained with another local practitioner, and rose healing really has a shamanic background to it. And in my practice, I've adapted it to use it with my Reiki energy, because as a Reiki practitioner, I really can't shut it off. It's one of those things that just comes very naturally from an energy healing perspective. And so there's that piece of it that I bring in, but the roses themselves do the work, right? Like, I'm not doing any sort of magic with the roses. I'm just taking the roses. I'm asking them where they should lay on the body. What part needs the most healing? Where do we need a vibrational shift or an unfolding? They guide me, and I use them kind of like a pendulum. I lay them on the physical body. We leave them there until the roses tell me that they're ready to be placed somewhere else, or that they're done.
Okay, how do the roses tell you that they're done? Like, how do they tell you? Because I know they don't use the words, but how do they communicate?
No,
with
they
you?
don't. They don't. And for me, it's like a pull. I can feel this pull coming from the roses, like, come back, come and get me, pick me up. And that is one of those things that's going to be, let's just say you took a class and you learned sacred rose healing with me or another teacher out in the space. The way that you perceive energy is going to be different probably than the way I perceive energy. So for some people, it might just be a knowing that the roses are ready to be picked up. For someone else, they might need to use a pendulum for the roses to tell them that they're done. Just to trust in their intuition, right? Just say like, oh, there's a little validation. For me, it's like a pull. I feel like I'm being drawn into the roses to pick them up. And if they don't want to be late again, it's sort of like you feel this hold sensation rather than a pull. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So it's different for everyone.
So so that's your rose healing. That's an individual rose healing. Talk
Correct.
about the rose healings with the sound bath experiences. If people want, I know they're very special.
I know, I love it.
There's a few of them. Tell us if people they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to a full-fledged healing. You have these amazing opportunities for people to experience the rose healing and a sound bath combination. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a beautiful thing, because roses tend to bring up deep healing, right? And then the sound bath swoops in and helps to move any of that stuck energy out. So you get this beautiful combination of relaxing in. We start off with a guided meditation to help everyone connect in and get grounded, get connected with the divine, connected with that rose energy. You'll come and be able to grab roses from an altar before we get started. We always have a beautiful set up. And you get to pick out your own roses that you'll use in ceremony. And rather than if you came to my studio for a full healing session, I would place the roses on you. In this case, you get to place the roses, potentially on your heart, or, Cheryl, I know that you like to put them on your knees, for example. Everyone's got their own place. Like, they are intuitively guided to where to place their roses. Then we start the meditation. I take you in, get you relaxed. We go deep. And then Angela Eschens from Soul Source Studio swoops in with her crystal singing bowl sound bath and kind of takes us away on this dreamy land, right, of healing. And when we come to an end, we don't just end there. We come together as a group with an integration period where we allow you to draw a card from a deck, relate that to your experience. And if you feel called, you can share your experience. You can share what the meaning of the card is for you. And then we feed you some snacks, of course, and send you on your way. We don't want you floating out of the building, for sure not. But it does leave people in a very relaxed state. We have such positive feedback about what a great start it is to the weekend, a way to decompress, detach from what's been happening in your world, and just kind of let it all go as you transition into, hopefully, in some cases, time away from work over the weekend, if that's how your work schedule is set up.
It's Sara. Tell people they get to take the roses home.
Oh, 100%. You take them home and you keep working with them.
So
what I love about...
They last forever. I'm going to tell you, folks, I have Sara's roses. Roses last 24 hours in my house, except Sara's. Sara's go 2 weeks. It is amazing the energy they're holding when they've been part of a sacred ceremony.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is I bring them home and I not only experience them for a long period of time, but I dry them because they still work, right, Sara?
They do. They do. Oh. And I think that's part of what I love about working with the roses is that you can go in and see someone for energy healing. Go in and have a Reiki session. Yeah. Go for your 30 minutes or your hour, and like out the door you go and you return back to your everyday life. When you come in for a rose healing or you come to the sound bath and you take the roses home with you, it connects you back into that healing and makes you kind of an active participant in the unfolding of your healing as you continue to work with the roses. Some people have taken baths with the petals. I have a client that naps with her roses. Then she cuts the ends and she puts them back into water. Like, she has a process. She's had probably 6 rose healings, and her roses last the longest of anyone's, and she probably has them out of the water the most, right? But it's that continued healing and that energy that really has made a lot of impact in people's lives by interacting with their roses post-session. Awesome. And yes, having them dried, they still emit the same vibration. So,
So I take them home and I strategically place them. So I have some in my bedroom, some in my quiet space, some in my office. I just kind of put them all throughout the house. And it's amazing. I walk by them and it's like, you're right. It's like a trip. It reminds you of the healing that took place when you received the roses. How cool is that?
Yeah.
That is so cool. Beautiful. So if people are interested in coming to this and experiencing this, do you have some opportunities coming up?
We certainly do. We will be at Carol Lowell's Be the Light on August 10th at 11:30 over at Studio Timeout. Awesome. It's an abbreviated session, like 45 minutes. So if you want to just experience it for free, see if it's something that you really like, then you can come to our next session, which is August 16th. And that's going to be at Echo Bodine Center over in the Hub Shopping Center. You can find this all on my website. We have all the dates listed out. And that is currently a $33 energy exchange. But the teaser session on the 10th is free. It comes with your admission to the show. And there are a lot of events going on that weekend. So you could stop by, come for the Sacred Rose Healing and Sound Bath, and go to Art on the Edge. I mean, there are a ton of things happening that weekend. But it's a great one to just try it out and see if you like it.
Sounds awesome. Very cool. So they could book readings on your website. They could book see where all your offerings are on your website as well.
Correct.
Perfect. And you're in your beautiful space right now at the center.
I am.
This
is my beautiful space. I just redid it, I think, in June. So I'm very excited. You should stop by and check it out.
Yep.
I've got a little space up front that I teach classes in when they're small enough to have a more intimate class. And then I've got my healing room on the other side. So it's been lovely that Echo allows me to be a part of her center in the way that she does.
Yes.
And I get to be your neighbor, which is also fantastic.
Awesome. That's so cool. So cool. Perfect. So
Yes.
So talk about your mentoring ship. What do you do on mentoring ship? Why would people want to connect, and what is mentoring all about for you, Sara?
Yeah, so people come to me through referral quite often, where they will come from another energy practitioner or someone else that knows me in the space that's like, hey, Sara could be a good connection for you. I would say that I meet people at the doorstep of their spiritual journey,
Nice.
and how they find me is
Okay,
different
Sara, how
every
does that
time.
look like? How does that look like? You
It
meet
looks
people
different.
at the doorstep. Like that is
Yes.
totally different because everyone's at different. So how do you
Yes.
unpack that? Like say someone's just curious and they're like, this woo-woo stuff is kind of crazy, but I kind of like roses and she seems like she's a cool chick. I want to get to know her. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'm like quite often how people find me is through Meetup, for example. I have a energy practitioner share, and 30% of the people that come to that have never worked in energy healing. They don't know much about spirituality. They're just curious, right? They're curious and they see this free event and they walk through the door. And like through a physical door, but also they're stepping into that space.
Exactly.
And I don't turn people away if they're not a practitioner from our energy healing share. I invite them in and I work with them one-on-one when it's their turn to reciprocate and give healing. And I think that in itself has been very powerful. I quite often bring roses to those events too, so people can experience, like, do I like working with roses? Do I like working with singing bowls? Do I like Tibetan bells, right? Like I've got all sorts of cool stuff that we pull out to practice with. But to see someone realize like, oh my gosh, I gave this healing. I thought I felt a little something, but the person that I was working on is giving me this feedback that it's real. And it just creates a little shift. Like imagine you just turn your head 10 degrees. You're seeing something totally different. And that's what it really means to be at the doorstep. It's like your perception is just like in that space where it's initially changing. And people have questions. I happen to be very much of a community builder. So I'm like, oh, you're interested in this? I know these people over here. Oh, you're interested in that. And so it's about connecting people and then helping them really internalize and process that. Because imagine your first experience with spirituality, your first experience maybe with rose healing or Reiki, whatever it might be. I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, this is real. And what will people think of me? What does this mean for my life? And so there's a lot to process and unpack. I'm certainly not a therapist, but I am a person who can walk that journey with people to just help them be curious, to continue to ask the questions, to explore what does it mean for them. Because I think the three of us here on the show today all have our own journey in spirituality, what that's been for us. And it's unique for everyone. And I love meeting people at the doorstep. I love the curiosity and the wonderment.
So what advice do you have for someone starting their journey? So they're at the doorstep. They're like, ooh.
Yeah.
What advice do you have?
It's really exploring. I mean, come to a holistic fair, see a few different types of practitioners, see what really calls to you. There's such a wide variety of things out there to be connected to and to do, all sorts of different ways to practice spirituality or become a practitioner of sorts or a reader. But it's really finding what is calling to you, like what are you most curious about, and following that. And you can try out a lot of different things. So there's a ton of fairs that happen around the Twin Cities. I know working out of Echoes, I'm a little bit biased. We have our event on the 1st and the 3rd Saturday of every month. Stop in at 10 o'clock. We go until 2 p.m. on the 1st Saturday and 3 p.m. on the 3rd. But if that's not your gig, there are the Edge is partnering with other people for events. We were just at Maple Grove with Eric and Bert, 2 guys in the know. So I'm like, there's all sorts of ways to get involved and see what's happening in your community and just to take that first step. And then find someone like me. I think there are a number of people in the space that are mentors and coaches. Get connected to one so they can walk that journey with you until you feel comfortable to walk it yourself.
What do you think are, as you hear and you work with people, some of the most misconceptions about energy healing and the community, and there are people that are right on that edge, and they're curious. What do you think kind of holds them back from taking that first step?
Oh, it's the perception of others. Like, I think a lot of people are worried about what other people will think of them when they take that step. What will their family think? What will their friends think? Is this something they need to hide? And I struggled with that really until this past January, when I decided, like, oh, after my brain injury, I can only be me. I can't be corporate Sara. I can't be healing Sara. I can't be Sara, the close girlfriend. I am literally just Sara. And what does that mean for me? And kind of redefining that. So if you were to go out and look at my LinkedIn profile, for example, I went full woo-woo out on my LinkedIn profile. So I've got my corporate self. I've got my business out there. You look at my Facebook page, right? Like, I am at a place where I'm like, this is the authentic me, and this is who you get. And I also realize that's really hard for people. And I've had my own struggle and journey with it. So those are, in my experience, that typically is the number one, is like, people worry about what other people are going to think, or is it real? Right? Like, is this all made up? And it's common to have those kind of two thought processes. And there are more than that.
Sara,
those are the top.
You talk about people in our life, it's so common that, people come into our life and we never know why, and we never know for how long they're going to be in our life. And so we've got these ebb and kind of flow journeys. And as we in the spiritual world become enlightened and move along, and we grow and we become, that sometimes means people fall off. That's just kind of the way it works. It's just kind of one of the things that works. And it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. But, family members who maybe don't see your gifts, that just can't, that want Sara to still be Sara, who sits at the Thanksgiving table at a certain place, don't quite accept, oh my gosh, Sara's now up on a billboard. Sara's on a podcast. Sara's showing up. And I think that's the piece that people are so afraid of sometimes, is, the judgment. I say this, what? I posted something on Facebook the other day. It was so funny. It's like, I got tired of trying to tell the story so people knew the story the right way. People can make their own decisions, right? And that's the way I feel about as we move into our spiritual world. It's like, just move in it and do it and advance and go where you are. And people will either fall off and find their new journey, or people will step in. I lost a bestie once because I stepped into my spiritual world. But what it opened up was room for my new bestie. And, I've told that story many times at Coffee with the Angels. So I think if we could be encouragers of people to really step into Sara, Cheryl, Kelly, step into who we are, then we've done even a greater gift for people. Because that's what the world needs right now, is a whole lot of love, a whole lot of sunshine, a whole lot of roses, and a whole lot of sparkles.
Most definitely. It's about bringing more beauty into the world, more
Amen.
Joy, right? More happiness.
Amen.
I think when we get into our authentic selves, whatever that might be for you, our vibration is very high in that space.
Right.
And then we attract other beautiful people in, right?
All day long.
I have really enjoyed being a part of this community for that reason. There's a lot of really great people in this space.
Yes. So if people are kind of just like, okay, so healing, I use a healing for my physical body. Okay, I admit it. I've done healings my whole life. I work with a healer for 30 years. And so what is it about healing, Sara? Do people have to have an ailment? Do they have to have something wrong? What do you say about a healing? Why do people come to a healing?
Oh, so many different reasons. It could be people are having ruminating thoughts about something, transition in their life. I mean, transition, change, all of that can be something that shakes up people's world. Stress, physically manifesting in the body in different ways, or stress in the mind. And it can be a physical ailment. As some may have heard, I do hospice work. So I work with people that are very end of life. I also attract into my healing business people walking the cancer journey, people with autoimmune disorders. So really, it's just a wide gamut. And those that are just curious, that are like, I don't think there's anything going on, but I just want to check this out. Usually, those individuals are in a transformation process and don't realize it quite yet. And coming for energy healing can really just be that crack that allows in the love and light and the story to begin to unfold. So I find healing to be an unfolding.
Do you have an
Wow.
experience that you'd like to share with a client that came in that maybe was a little like, I don't know about this, and then they had little Sarah, and then they walked out in a totally different space?
Oh, for sure. Um, I work music festivals, and so music festies come on and climb on my table for healing, and quite often it's because they're curious. They don't know much
Mhm.
about it. They want to know more. They want to experience it, and it's a safe place to do that. I had a client who was super curious. She met me at a music festival and she became a weekly client for a while. She became a mentoring client, but
Mm.
she was at the doorstep, right, of curiosity and wonderment about what is this all about.
Mhm.
And she doesn't practice Reiki, but she did take healing touch classes because
Mm.
she works in healthcare and she wanted it to be
Mm.
something that would be more recognized in her job. But it opened this door to a completely different world for her. And because I am an intuitive medium, my healing usually comes with some messages if people are open to hearing it. And in her case, it became very much like she was coming in for the healing and that transformation, but she was also receiving spiritual mentorship through the readings that were coming from her higher self, right? Not necessarily Sarah directing, but Sarah offering information in which
Mhm.
she could make a decision about. And when you have clients that come in like that, it's a lot and then it tapers off. And
Mhm.
then something comes up and they come back. And
Mhm.
they're looking, maybe just for a little recharge, or they're looking for just a little bit of information. I do psychic readings, mediumship readings as well, but what I really love is the healing component of it and the messages that come with that, because it isn't answering a question for a person and what you're consciously thinking about. It's the information that comes through in which you most need to hear. So, and that brings me more joy than just, answering questions for people.
Amen. Amen. They're beautiful. Your messages are amazing, Sarah. Absolutely amazing. I
So,
appreciate
Thank you,
hearing it.
Cheryl.
Sarah, what are some things that people can do for their everyday lives to keep their vibration up and to keep that going? So, touch bases with you, of course, and other
Oh,
practitioners in their
yes.
world. But what are other little, and I think you kind of kicked it off with whether it's music you listen to or finding joy, or so what are some words of advice that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, most definitely. So get yourself out into nature.
Mm.
Being connected with Mother Earth is a huge component of keeping your vibration high,
Mhm.
because Mother Earth transmutes anything that isn't serving you. So
Yes.
spending time outside is important. Better yet, if you can spend time outside singing to your favorite song in the rain, right? And allowing all which does not serve you to wash away. I know people are afraid to sing while they're outside, but try it once.
Mhm.
Sing as if no one is looking at you. Dance in your kitchen as, if no one else is there, even if you have a little bit of an audience. It's finding ways to bring joy into your life. If there's something you're passionate about, doing that can raise your vibration.
Mhm.
Think about bringing beauty into your life. Beauty is very high vibration. Roses are that, right? It could be if you have a different favorite flower. Um, I don't know, Kelly, there's so many different things people can do to raise their vibration. But if you focus on, you know, grace, compassion, joy, beauty, like those are very high vibration emotions and they will take you to that place.
That's awesome. So
I
awesome.
totally like, so my 13-year-old is in the middle of softball tryouts right now, and she did not make the team that she really wanted to make. And yesterday was a really hard day.
Yes.
And we came to with, I know when you're 13 and you're in it, and optimal outcomes. And we just sat there and we're like, okay, so today, rather than being mopey and rather than being defeated, look at it that there's another team that wants you and that there's another opportunity and new girls and new opportunities. And it was hard because she's 13 and she's like that. And to be able
Hmm.
to, so I brought her some roses and I put them by her bedside last night, and we said some blessings and asked for optimal
Nice.
outcomes. But those are just those little things that you can do during your day, even when you're having a crappy one, to just pivot a little bit and try to see the light and the opportunity.
Mhm.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely. And I know we don't always feel like we have a choice,
Mhm.
but there's usually a choice there in front of us on how we want to respond to something. And I think that is something I've learned a lot about over the last year and a half, is that there is choice, right? But we
Mhm.
don't actually get to control the outcome. as much as we think we do. So as much as I say there's choice, we get to choose how we behave and how we react. But there's so much out there that we can't control. And so learning to just be and allow, right? And, to feel the feelings that your daughter was feeling about feeling rejected or whatever else it was that was coming up for her. And then being able to say like, okay, I feel that my human experience. And now I'm going to choose to look over here and see what else life might be offering me. Because quite often when a door closes, right, a different window opens. That might be a better fit for us. And that's hard for us sometimes to accept because we can be very focused on like, I want this thing that's right in front of me. I want to be accepted onto this team. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the right team for you. Maybe there's someone else you're supposed to meet over here that's going to be her bestie for the next decade, right? Life is filled with surprises in that way.
Sara, I needed you last night. Thank you. And I was, it's coming out of my mouth because I'm the mom. It just wasn't, but thank you. That was lovely. And it's putting the goodness out there.
Absolutely.
So Sara, you've got 2 events coming up, one this Saturday, one the following Friday. You have the actual training that people could sign up for if they're interested in being a healer.
Yes.
Are you interested in unveiling something else?
Let's talk about it. Yeah,
nobody knows about this one. This is coming up. This is big. Talk to us about what we're doing, Sara.
Oh, well, as you know, I work in hospice. I am a death doula. There's this component around death that is very scary for people. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of, in some cases, it brings up shame. It brings up all of these emotions. And so Cheryl and I are going to be hosting a death cafe on a monthly basis here at Echo Bodine Center to allow a space for people to come in and talk about life, death, everything in between, and just to create this really sacred space for us to serve the community in that way. I don't know. Cheryl, add anything else you like about it. I'm excited.
Well, it really came when your beautiful interview with Echo Bodine, and we were talking about you were talking about death and that. And I have done all the work in the hospice as an ordained priest. I did a lot of hospice work with people on, their life ending. But I think the beauty of the Death Cafe, because you and I both been to them, ours is going to be fancy, very fancy. We have, I have beautiful cups and saucers, and we're going to have cake because it's a celebration. But really what the Death Cafe is about is answering or making death not something people fear so that they can really live. And I think that's the beauty, is how do we teach people that, death is all part of the process, but really there's a whole lot of living to do. So how do we live in the middle of that process? And I think that is just going to be the coolest piece. I know I have mentioned to some private clients, and I've got so many big interests in it. Echo's huge behind it. And so I think this is really going to be something for the community. Again, it's around healing. It's about bringing people together. It's about getting them in the door, and the curiosity of, where am I in this big world? How do I fit in? Right now, there's a lot of energy and people are exiting. Oh my heavens gracious. They're just exiting at great speed. And how to give people the answers when that happens about it's their time, or they chose it, or we need them. It just how to give those kind of, make the mystery out of it a little bit more easy for people to understand and take it on a daily basis. So I think that's going to be a great thing for the community.
I think it's amazing, you guys. And I really, so I hosted Death Cafe a couple of months ago with Mary Newstrom, and I was new to it. And so I went to my first one, I think at Lakeside Cemetery. I thought it was really interesting that they hosted death cafes, and I got to interact with a bunch of morticians, which was a really interesting interaction for me to come in and see that as that the profession. And my sister-in-law is actually a mortician, so I've heard about it from that side of the fence. And it was beautiful to attract the people that we did. And lots of people had just recently had loss, and they were just coming and sharing, and the tears. And it was really a powerful experience. So thank you so much for doing that, because it's so needed. And we need to talk about death. I mean, what's the saying that, we're not getting out of this alive? I mean, we're not. And to be able to do that, you guys, I think that's going to be an amazing opportunity to share with the community. And I really see that it's going to be a really vibrant and beautiful sacred space. Well done. Good job, you guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I think the big piece about Death Cafes, that I really want people to know is it's not about a group for people to come together who are in mourning. It's not about going through those pieces. It's really about the celebration. It's really about those pieces. That there are grief groups that are appropriate. There's therapists that are appropriate. Even though I'm a therapist and a priest, and Sarah's, we got mentorships, we got all this stuff going on. That space there is really to talk about the getting rid of the mysteries and really getting into how do we live. And so I think that's the beauty behind that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be exciting.
Okay, everybody. Sacred Oaks Healing. I mean, if you're not intrigued with Sara right now, well, just be. She's amazing. Go get some roses. Even if you have to go buy them for yourself, just go get some roses. It's amazing. And what Sara has to offer is just, I've had healings from her. And I've known her for a couple years now, and it's just an honor to have her in our community, and just watching you blossom into everything that you're doing is just amazing. And it was an honor to have you here today.
It was an honor to be here. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic rest of your day.
You too. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. Bye, ladies.